buzzing? Why haven't I got any buzzing? Oh, it's because I've got no windows open. That's why.
Good for you. That's,
Yeah, well, it's. I thought my phone would have done things.
a couple years after doing this, finally figured it out.
Yeah. Well, you'd think it. Anyway, how are you? It's been like sort of. It's been an age.
It has been.
I've missed you, like not spending like 12 hours a day with you.
I know. 10. Well, yeah, no, technically it was like 12 because we did a little bit before. I've been good. I am recovering.
I'm not surprised.
Boy, oh boy, was that. I think what people see is the 10-hour live stream and go, wow, that was a lot. What people don't see.
Everything else.
The prep that went into it. What they don't see. The thousands of conversations I had with people. And the post-production.
I'll say you threw them out really quick, really quickly. Yeah, fair play.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I had them all done probably like Sunday night. I did a couple in the hotel room on Thursday and then just had them trickle out over the weekend. That did the rest on Sunday night and just had them trickle out. But yeah, I figured one a day was pretty good. I like the way that all the topics ended up, kind of coalescing.
Clustering. Yeah, that was really cool.
There were some that didn't quite fit, but I felt like they were better than
with the decent program you got there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Sent out all the emails, thanking guests. That was another big heavy load.
Yeah, you did better than me with that because it made me realize that when I do my interviews and stuff, I'll send them a sort of a thanks. Here's the thing, but yours was much more a professional push out. So I might just have to start copying you with
that. I wouldn't say it's the hardest part, but the most time consuming part of sending out messages was finding some personal aspect of it and been like, I really appreciated when we talked about this because that resonated with me.
Yes, it's worse when you get when I've sort of seen. I sort of do that with when I tend to do sort of UX type interviews. Sort of follow up. Yes, it was great to hear your views, and especially on whatever it was. But it's when you only get to the one go, I have no idea what you said, and nothing is coming to mind. No, you did not stand out whatsoever.
I always enjoy talking with users. That's what you say in those cases.
Yes, that's true. Yeah. Well, thankfully, we had awesome guests.
We did. I didn't struggle with one of them to find anything good or noteworthy about those interviews. Those are good. I will mention those at the top of the show. I think those are there. Okay. Yeah, we should be doing show notes because, truth be told, I have not actually looked at these yet.
I have. I know it's there.
I know.
I'll just carry the show, honest. Oh, I'm so tired. It's unreal. I actually, Amanda went out. She'd been dropping kids off at various things, and she was like, "Right, you're clearly because we've had a day. We've had new clients in, or so new potential partners in, potential new clients in. So for a date, like a meet and greet type thing. And I just find them. It was really good fun, but really draining. And then I had a whole day yesterday that was really stressful, and this week has just been bang, 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 and so she was saying tonight, right, I'll bring some stuff back for dinner. So she bought fish fingers back and some bread. So we had like fish finger sandwiches. It was lovely. But then I was making this one sandwich and I bit into it and I was like, oh, there's something not quite right there. And I realized I opened it up and I'd made the sandwich but forgot to actually put the fish fingers in. I was
no.
If this is a marker of how tonight's going to go, then my daughter Holly was saying, do you think you just need to like call Nick and just say you're liable to say just anything and therefore is it worth the risk? And I was like, it's fine, I'm a professional.
Barry, I gotta say, like, I don't know, there's something, you have an energy about you tonight that is different but refreshing. I don't know if, not to say that the normal energy that you put off. No, I know. Not to say that the normal energy that you put off isn't wonderful. It's just that I feel that there might be a little something extra. Did somebody slip something in your drink tonight or something?
So this is me really good, just pure adrenaline. Because everything else is empty. So in the notes we've got, I've done the blurb. That's except for where the made up and brand new word you can't actually search for on Google because nobody knows what it means. So I already know I'm going to struggle to say that, and I've been trying to practice it, and I just know it's going to trip me up. So we'll just run with that.
Anomogenic.
Well, yeah. So you've got it all comes from anomy or anomy, depending on which way you want to do it. So then they've developed this idea of anomogenic, and then they go to adonymic.
Is there a way that we can rewrite that?
Well, no, because it's a point. I think
Anomogenesis.
Anomogenesis, yeah. It's the fact that well, firstly, it's in the title of the report, so of the research, so it kind of has to be there. But it's kind of it's another bit of my thought processes with how I want to critique the research. The fact that they've just made up words, literally. Anyway, yeah, so we'll deal with that, and it'll provide you an amusing bit of TikTok anyway. So,
I'm sure. Yeah, I've truth be told, we haven't posted any TikTok over the last week. Just that one about being caught off guard when we came back.
Yes,
just that one because that
was the only time that we did anything vaguely like that. I was like, I'm sure there should have been way more.
I feel like there should have.
Yeah,
there should have been way more outtakes, but that was the only moment that really just came to my mind. And honestly, I was producing a bunch of other stuff. I didn't have time to go through and pick out nuggets. Might do that at some point, but you'll get nuggets for this episode, and hopefully you got some.
I'll provide it.
Yeah.
So then. Yeah, so after we do then, initial thoughts, I want to break down the words, so the fact that they're doing that just to get people to recognize what they mean, because I hadn't heard of them before. Describe a bit of the method, and then dig into, I was kind of struggling a bit with our usual breakdown because,
kind
of is, but I've got some notes in there and we can use them or not as we see fit. But in the loose rounds bit, there is some... bit more about the in fact, no, I need to put that into the methodology one, so let me put that out there.
I want to throw something in the notes here too while I'm thinking about where's usability in this list? I feel like we have
it'll be under engineering, surely. Yeah, it is usability and system evaluation. Oh, you've got examples. Oh, like examples. That's cool.
Yeah, there's some interesting bits around this that I always love bringing up, and I don't want to say too much in the pre-show. Save some of that meat and potatoes for
all that. I think the organization of socialist stuff we can go to town on what sort of society we're becoming, all that sort of stuff, or is this just making stuff up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that stuff's easy for me. The organization social stuff I can is like super. I don't want to say easy. It's low hanging fruit.
Yes.
For these types of discussions.
We could go back and pull in some of the Google Glass stuff as well. That would be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That's more societal intervention. But...
Yeah, I think there's limited engineering here that we can actually talk about, which I'm glad I have this point that we can talk about it. I want to elaborate a little bit on it, and maybe as we riff about it, more will come to light.
Yeah. I mean, we've certainly got enough points there, I think, to make our 20 minutes or whatever it is. So
yeah. Even if this is a shorter discussion, that's fine. These episodes, by the way, after HFES are always so interesting to me because we pick up so many people. I don't want to publicize our numbers, but like I almost feel like, Barry, I should show you just kind of like in a preview view of like what our numbers look like comparative to our last episode, like our last regular episode.
You could drop it into a Discord chat.
I could do that, and I will. I just want you to see, because there's like just what's on the line here. There's not that
you're trying to put me under pressure here, aren't you?
Not that. No, it's not that. I'm trying to put you under pressure. It's just that there's like it really is sort of interesting how many people tune into the show around HFES because of all of our conference coverage. And my goodness, Sunday the 16th, we had 488 downloads. That's a lot in one day.
That's really good.
What that tells me, though, is that somebody went through and downloaded all of our episodes. And I don't know.
Oh, just hit the catalog. Yeah.
I don't know if somebody intends to do all of them, but listen to all of them. But those spikes is what that means to me. Let's see here. Performance comparison. I'm going to do all the standalone stuff. And then our last episode. So... well, you know what? It's not a super fair comparison, because the last episode that we did, well, here, let me do the day one numbers, because that's easily understood, and there's some interesting inflation happening there at that level. So without exposing too much here, there's what typically happens with conference coverage episodes is that we see a decrease in listenership, not because they're boring, but because they're not our normal episodes and they're bonus episodes. People don't tend to listen to bonus episodes as much. So I've just sent you the chart. You can see at the very bottom, episode 260, that is our last episode, day one downloads. And you can see that pretty much every conference coverage episode either meets or beats that, which is really good for conference coverage.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So that puts things into perspective, that the conference coverage is doing better than the last episode that we put out there.
Yeah. But then there was a lot there. It was pushed beforehand, pushed there, and it was a huge event as well, wasn't it, in its own right? So
it was very big. Yeah.
In fact, a person who was in a meeting I was in today mentioned about it, which I thought was really cool. And the fact they'd seen it on sort of LinkedIn and stuff.
Yeah. And there's the chart for you, Barry, without any of the stuff covering it, so you can kind of see what the distribution looks like. You can tell when people are sharing it and when not, like how many days out it's hitting those networks.
Yeah.
Which is always fun to see. And really interesting stats on a couple of them, how one of them is doing better day one and some are doing better over time.
Yeah, that is quite interesting.
I love that chart. It just looks like spaghetti.
Yes, it's sort of everything's sort of going in the right direction, but then others are going more than others. Yeah, it's good. That I like that. Cool. That's exciting.
Yeah. Ooh. Okay.
So I remember as well, I may or may not be at tomorrow's event.
Okay.
Because my family's coming to visit, or my parents come to visit. So
that's exciting.
Depending on what time they get here, they might not get here till later. So if they're here after, so if they're not here by 6, then I'll I'll jump in and say hi, but I might bail out depending what time they turn up.
Mum and Dad Kirby.
Indeed.
You can always invite them to the lab meeting too. That's always fun. We have a special guest at the lab meeting tomorrow. I actually had a really interesting conversation with a listener who stopped by the booth, who really enjoys what we're doing and appreciates it so much, but said, "Hey, look, like you guys know that you're missing this huge audience in Spanish-speaking countries." And I'm like, "Yes, I know.
Okay,
We're missing huge audiences in a lot of different countries that speak something other than English." And he was like, "Look, like I don't have a whole lot of time, but I'd love to talk, a little bit about how we might be able to convert some of that content into Spanish." And I was like, "That's awesome." I don't know if like that means so the conversation tomorrow is, what does that look like? Is that, a separate feed, literally audio translated, or is it, Google Translate through a transcript? There's a couple different ways in which it could happen.
Yeah, because again, I guess it's worth looking at some of the downloading demographic things on, because if you went multi-language, then things like Mandarin and Cantonese, if you could get that sort of stuff, because obviously that's hugely spoken, that would open up all sorts of things if you could make that happen. But again, it's yet more stuff.
Yeah.
To do. But
we need help. Lab is always taking new people. So if you're interested, reach out.
Good time.
Oh yeah.
Right, we've got It Came Froms. Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Can you get prepared for that icebreaker? I have 3 that I like to use. 2 are just absolutely. You know what? Never mind. 2 truths and a lie.
I cannot express how much I hate icebreakers. I know psychologically I know why I hate them, and I know they're a good thing, but I still hate them. The second one is fine. We obviously need some sad music behind it, but yeah, that's cool.
Do we have sad? Is sad a music source? Can I do?
But there's got to be something, surely.
It's down tempo.
Yeah, and I know which.
Kinda.
Oh no, this is the one I would want to use. Is it?
Oh, do you want me to pause the music here for a second?
Yeah, if you pause the music there, this may. Where's that coming out of? Oh, hold on a second.
All right, we'll just get the music going here. I'll play DJ here.
It's not logically challenged at the moment. Oh, I know why I did that, because I pushed that out to there instead of
billing and invoicing all in one place.
Skip that. Turn that down. So this was music that was used on radio a long time ago in the UK. That was always done around like sort of the heartachy, sad stories.
Oh yeah.
The lady's name is going to be kept anonymous.
All right, I don't want to get copyright. I don't want to get copyright.
Yeah, but I can't get the backing stuff just on its own. So.
Let me see here. I might be able to find some sad music that is royalty free here as I look for. Cool. Yeah, let me just take a look. Our composer has a ton of them. Let's see here. Feels. We'll do dark, suspenseful, unnerving.
Okay, that sounds.
What? Oh, somber. I think somber is a better choice than either of those. Let's just do somber, and then we'll do. Let's see here. I feel like this is going to be... So I got to be honest, like listening for royalty-free music is actually kind of fun for me. We do a lot of projects in which we need to use music.
Okay, yeah.
And so to find something that matches the tone, I got to add a source here. And I think what I'll do is local. Oh, wait, no, not that one. I will do... Oops. Nope. What am I doing here? Presentations. I will do... No, what is going on? Why can't I just share my screen? That is right there. We'll share system audio. And what I will do is I will make us both... How do I make us large and this thing? I don't know what I'm doing. We're just shifting around. We'll just do that for now. I mean, there's nothing on this screen.
Okay.
It's just so that way I can share the audio. Let's see here. I'm gonna kill this music, and let's see here. So, oops, that's not what I meant to kill. I meant to kill this. There we go. All right. So, let's just we'll do this one's titled "Heavy Heart." And again, the whole reason for this is the background music for one of these it came from. So I guess people don't have that context. Let me know if this is too loud.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Let's skip ahead here. Can I can't skip ahead. Let's see. Let's see here. There's Lost Time. Ooh. Okay, let's go with Anguish. Let's try Anguish. Should I just read it under this music here? Which one is it? The second one?
Go on.
Is it the second one that we're talking about here?
Yeah.
Vanessa, just pick music wildly off tone. Do it for the vibe. Hang on, I'll do it both ways. I'll read it this way and then I'll read it. Hang on. Okay, here we go. Here it is. Ready? Hi, everyone. How common is it to feel lonely and isolated working as a UX researcher? Is UX research inherently a solitary role? I work at a large company on a small team of UX researchers that serves 10 plus product teams. I rotate to a new product team every 5 weeks for a new study. I feel very separated from the teams I work with, and it's been a challenge to build rapport in the span of a single project. As someone who is energized by close collaboration and feeling part of a cohesive team, I'm concerned that as a UX researcher, I will always be seen as a consultant on the sidelines. All right, that's about all I'll do for that.
Just you hit that second paragraph. You recognize yourself now, which is weird. But the music tempo just as you hit the second paragraph. Brilliant.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I didn't plan that. That's just. So let's. Very dramatic. Sounds like the intro to a Dateline special. I love it, Vanessa. Thank you for the comments. I'm gonna do the wildly different tone here. I'm gonna look for feels. Let's go with
Upbeat Carnival.
Should I go with uplifting or action or aggressive or bouncy? I'm gonna go with bouncy. Hang on. Bouncy. Let's do. Hang on. Let's see what this one sounds like.
Oh, this is I think this is the adrenaline laughing as well.
Oh, here, hang on. It says Circus of Freaks. Let's see what this one sounds like. Keep the same dramatic tone.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, geez. Oh, Blippy Trance. I feel like we use this one. Don't we use this one? I feel like we use this one. No, I have that somewhere because it matches kind of the tone of the show, but I don't know where I have it. Farting around. We could do farting.
Is that just talking? Oh, God.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. This is new people listening to the show.
You know all the music you're talking about? Yeah, they're off. We go. But that does sound like intro music.
Oh. It does kind of sound like our intro music.
Welcome to Human This week.
Okay, this one's called Glitter Blast. All right, I think that one juxtaposes the tone pretty well. I'm gonna try it with that one.
Just turn the volume down.
Oh, is it just a little high?
It's a bit higher.
Okay, how about this one? Is that okay?
Yeah, go for it. That's it.
Okay. All right, same dramatic tone. Same dramatic tone with okay. Hi everyone. How common is it to feel lonely and isolated working as a UX researcher? Is UX research inherently a solitary role? I work at a large company on a small team of UX researchers that serves 10 plus product teams. I rotate to a new product team every 5 weeks for a new study. I feel very separated from the teams I work with. And it's been a challenge to build rapport in the span of a single project. How's that one?
That was it felt really congruous in many ways. Really, just completely clashing. I think Vanessa just clearly
cheery Monday here. I feel like I could do this as like an inspirational one too. Hang on, I'm gonna do that.
Hold on.
We'll do it this one. Hi everyone. How common is it to feel lonely and isolated working as a UX researcher? Is UX research inherently a solitary role? I work at a large company on a small team of UX researchers that serves 10 plus product teams. I rotate to a new product team every 5 weeks for a new study. I feel very separated from the teams I work with, and it's a challenge to build rapport in the span of a single project.
That actually sounded really weird.
Oh, I could do this all day. I love this stuff. This stuff is fun.
You've got about another 3 minutes to go wild on this.
That's how I want to receive all the negative news. All right. Let's see here. Where's like some...
I think we need to... You need to fire me or something in that same upbeat tone with the music.
Yeah, hang
I'll
on.
give
I'm
this
just gonna...
to Vanessa. Give her the really negative music.
Yeah, that's what I'm reading here. I'll read here. Where's this one's slightly political, but I don't care. No, I do care because I'm not going to give credence to that. Let's bad news today. Somebody find me a bad news headline that I can read. I feel like reading any sort of, real world news. I feel like reading any real world bad news in a cheerful tone can be misconstrued, so I'm not going to do that.
That one, I dare you.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Real. Look, if you want to get rid of our UK listenership in one fell swoop, that's how we do it. That's how we do it. Queen Elizabeth II has died. Okay.
Not funny. In fact, I'm now offended.
All right. There we go. Hang on. Well, hold on. There's a good one. All right, let me get rid of this.
But this is on fire.
Boy band BTS is essentially disbanding to do mandatory military service. This has been some bad news. Read to you on Cheery Monday.
Is that bad? I'm struggling to work out where that's bad news on. Anyway, right.
Boy.
We've got 60 seconds now to be serious and do make the job.
Hey, yeah, we got to do a show. All right. Hey, we're going to be right back. What's that?
Vanessa took us off track completely. And
no, I love it.
Really show. Well done.
Vanessa,
I like
if you want to stick around for the post show, I'm happy to do more of the stuff in the post show. It's got a couple extra people to tune in, so why not? Okay. All right, we're going to be back. We're going to be talking about some other news that's human factors related right after this.
Welcome to Human Factors Cast, your weekly podcast for human factors, psychology, and design.
Hello, everybody. You are listening to whatever, Human Factors Cast. This is episode 261. We're recording this episode live on October 20th, 2022, and I'm on a good one as well as my co-host here. I'm joined today by Mr. Barry Kirby.
Hey there, how are you? It's been so long since I've seen you.
Hey, it has been so long that little pause there was quite dramatic. Thank you for the dramatic pause. Hey, we got a great show for you all tonight. We're going to be talking about how smartphones are promising satisfaction and meaning, but a new study, we'll talk about that, shows they deliver only more searching. We'll also answer some of the questions from the community about some short and fun icebreaker games for your teams, feeling lonely and isolated as a UX researcher, and conducting user interviews over chat. But first, hey, usually around this time, and we see the numbers, and thank you so much for everybody, we usually get a lot of sort of new listeners around conference coverage. So thank you for joining us on our main show. This is Human Factors Cast, and if you're joining us because of our HFES coverage, welcome. We're so glad to have you here, and we hope that you stick around for some of our main show stuff. Speaking of HFES, we have a ton of coverage for you. If you'd like, you can go listen to our full 10-hour live stream that includes the presidential keynote address, the presidential address, the keynote address by Craig Bowman from Boeing. Really good talks. Our commentary on all that is not included in any of the side pieces, kind of set alone, that we've put out on our podcast feed. So if you're interested in that, go check it out on YouTube. Again, 10-hour live stream. You can kind of check for the bits and pieces that you missed. Everything else has been packaged up nice and neatly into 6 individual episodes for you that we've dropped over the last week. So hopefully you've had a great time listening to those as much as we've had talking with those folks. All that stuff was all that stuff that went out over the last week happened in one day. So that was a really, really busy day for us, and really great to have that all out there for you all to enjoy. Speaking of new stuff, we do have a couple show trailers. So there's now a show trailer for Human Factors Cast, and there's a show trailer for 1202, the Human Factors Podcast. If you are trying to convince your friends to watch the show, maybe send them those trailers their way, because that might help convince them to watch the show. And really, the word of mouth helps the show grow. If you like what we do, you want to support us, that is probably the best way you can do so, other than to keep listening. But speaking of 1202, Barry, what's going on over there?
So at 1202, we've been talking about proactive learning. So this has been an interview with Dr. Marcin Nazaruk, where he's been doing a lot of work around understanding safety risk, how we identify it, and he's got years and years and years of experience. And one of the things he sort of identified is, as we've got better at it, it's actually harder to, the more historical approach to safety is all around saying, oh, an accident happened, how do we fix it? Or actually, then we got to near misses, right? A near miss happened, how do we stop that from happening in the future and stop it from evolving into something bigger? But now he's been looking at organizations and said, well, actually, how do we learn just from organizations? How do we learn from what people do on a normal basis? Or as he calls it, how do we learn from normal work? And so that's been a fascinating interview. And so much so we're going to leave it as the main interview for a third week. So starting from next week, the drop that we were going to have go live, I'm postponing because people are really enjoying this one. So we're going to do that. And also, really interestingly, with this episode, we've actually got the advert that you just mentioned dropped into this one as the breaker before the final three, which was a fun crafting exercise to make that happen. So go and have a watch of that on YouTube, if for nothing else, just to see how we crowbar that in.
Yeah. It's thank you for that. We're trading trailers. So you get the little bump at the top and a post roll, and I get that one right in the middle. So thank you. All right. Well, hey, we're here to talk about the news. So why don't we get into the news? That's right. This is the part of the show, for better or worse, that we talk about human factors news. Barry, for better or worse, what is the story this week?
So this week, the story is all about smartphones promising the satisfaction of meaning, whereas they deliver only more searching, a study has shown. So smartphone users will be disappointed if they expect their devices and social media to fill that need for purpose and meaning. In fact, it will probably do the opposite, researchers have found in a recently published study. So the research was seeking to understand the complex relationship between meaning seeking and technology by analyzing data from the Baylor Religion Survey. Their research, Maladies of Infinite Aspiration, Smartphones, Meaning Seeking, and Anomigenesis, I told you I was going to get that wrong, was published in the Journal of Sociological Perspectives. The researchers provided a sociological link to the psychological studies that point to connections between digital services and media use, with feelings of loneliness, depression, unhappiness, suicidal ideation, and other poor mental health outcomes. The researchers concluded that smartphone attachment could be anomigenic, causing a breakdown in social values because the unstructured and limitless options they provide for seeking meaning and purpose, and inadvertently exacerbating feelings of despair while simultaneously providing to resolve them. They go on to say that the act of seeking itself becomes the only meaningful activity, which is the basis of anomie and addiction. So the researchers found a connection between this search for meaning and feelings of attachment to your own smartphone, which they suggest is then the possible precursor to technology addiction. One positive outcome, though, the researchers found is that identifying a satisfying purpose for life seems to provide a protective effect against this sense of attachment and anomie, though this effect is not as strong as the opposite effect of meaning seeking. Taken together, it's possible that the media use bolstered by purpose, such as through family, work, or faith, is less likely to produce alienating looking effects for the individual. So, Nick, can I just drag you away from your phone and your phone addiction there to ask you what your thoughts are on the on this article?
Oh yes, sorry. I've been doing this for 6 years, and I was on my phone. My bad. No, I. What are my thoughts? Can you tell that I haven't prepared? So, the initial thought on this headline: smartphones promise satisfaction and meaning, deliver only more searching, study shows. Okay, that is a provocative headline, and I read through, a little bit of this during the news recaps that we do, and thought, yes, this is a great point of conversation. I know Barry has a picture that he likes to share when he talks about this very subject. So let's go ahead and throw it in the pile. And full disclosure, we forgot to do a poll with all the excitement of HFES, and so we thought that this one was a good story. After you sort of explained to me a little bit more about some of the other stuff going on with this study, I am intrigued with where this conversation is going to go. Can I leave it at that? I'm intrigued with where we're going to go.
Yeah, no, that's a good bluff at an outcome. I like it. Let me go back because I've done my preparation. I've done my background work.
Barry's saving the show today.
Again. It is an interesting study, and I like, because it is something I'm quite keen on researching. I do a lot of talks based on what's the impact of technology upon society, on culture and things like that, both as a provider and as an interactive piece of itself. So I like the idea behind this. I like people are looking at the whole question. However, I do have a bit of a caveat to that with this particular study, because as it says in there, it is based on from the Baylor Religion Survey, and you could say on the face of it that actually where this data is sourced, or how this data is sourced, or the underlying biases that might exist might have underlying reasons why the data has come out the way that it has. I think that having, and I sort of said this in the pre-show to a certain extent. Normally, when we do these type of talks and discussions, I'll look at the article. The article's brilliant, and then if there's something interesting, I'll dig into the underlying paper a bit more. But generally, not so much as a rule. We tend to just talk on the reflection of the article. This one I've dived into the paper. I've dived into the underpinning questionnaire. I've dived into the because they've done a number of repetitive surveys, what they call waves, and this is wave 5. So I've looked at wave 6. I've looked at wave 1, 2, 3, 4. Just because I'm really intrigued by it. So I don't know. There's a bit of an alarm bell ringing somewhere, but I don't know whether that's a justified alarm bell or not. So I think we probably need to talk a bit about that.
We could talk about that. I almost want to frame this. Let's absolutely talk about it, but I almost want to frame this discussion around like, what are smartphones doing to us as humans? It's like a
Yes.
larger question. And basically, what are the human factors implications of that, right? Because that's what the show is all about, is human factors. Let's start by getting the ugly out of the way. Let's talk about the methodology. Barry, what did you find in your digging?
Well, I found new words. As you could tell when I was reading that out. Then anomy is or anomy, depending on how you want to pronounce it. That is something you find in the dictionary. That is the lack of usual social or ethical standards in an individual or a group, and that is a relatively well used term. But then in this study, and I think it's in this study that they've then got and expanded that word. So anomogenic is a word that's been introduced to describe how smartphones may produce anime because of the unstructured and limitless options they provide for seeking meaning and purpose. So then they get into the other word that hit me from the top, is the anomogenesis, which is then presumably that piece around the implications of this. So that whole bit was just like, you're creating brand new words for this. That was something else, because I just went to Google and tried to Google it, and Google was just like, you clearly mean something else. So that's interesting in of itself. So they're, for better or worse, they're creating new language. Not something I like to do when you're trying to explain concepts. So then the methodology itself. So they have the Baylor University do a Baylor religion survey. They've done a number of waves of it in the past, and we'll put the link in the show notes. But fundamentally, they do these surveys to, as they put it, their purpose is to provide the public and other researchers with unique data concerning religion, health, and community in America today. We're open to your questions and your requests. And so they do these different waves. And this is from wave 5, where they've been talking about American values and mental health and using technology in the age of Trump. So interesting. So there's and actually, you read through it. There's some interesting bits in there. We were picking into it in the pre-show and stuff, and there's some good bits there. So what they did was actually take out the concentrate on some of the responses used in this particular survey, focusing on information and communication technology, so ICT devices, use, as well as questions related to the meaning and purpose of meaning in life questionnaire, to show that where devices promise satisfaction and meaning, they often deliver the opposite. So yeah, so they've got the whole questionnaire, so they've picked out a couple of questions and done the whole correlation piece on them, and great. That's a good, an interesting use of the data. I guess my radar is going off because it's fundamentally it's based in a religion survey, then, which is one type of approach of getting people to come together and coalesce around a single thought or action. Is there an underpinning bias where actually is there a bit of almost jealousy there that there's another device taking away thought and action? But then there's some interesting bits around in the results themselves where they identify where people are using mobile phone devices to pray and things like that. But fundamentally, one of the big bits that they don't do is they don't actually know what people were doing on their phones throughout their whole period. So, and they do what all good researchers do, which is turn around and say that's a good question for future research, which is fabulous. So I've got sort of, I guess, some things around the methodology itself, but I think what you said is absolutely right.
Yeah.
We all know that smartphones have an effect in our life one way or another. I shared a photo with you beforehand, and I use that in all of my lectures around where I talk around the social impact of technologies, and to paint a picture. It's a photo of me and my wife on a date, and where she sat at the opposite me, and we were at a well-known UK pizza restaurant, and I thought we were going to have deep and meaningful conversation, and I look up and she's just there on her phone right in front of her face like this, and so I was like, right, I'll just have a photo of that, and so I'm taking a photo of her just on a phone, and I now use that in all of my lectures going forward, and have done for the past 3 years. And I think that it is really important that we sort of dig into that rather than focus on the methodology of how it was done. Methodology is done now, and I'm over with. So what do you think about the actual use of mobile phones?
Hold on one second. I want to poke one more hole as we're talking about the methodology,
Okay.
and just to sort of indicate the level of bias that we're dealing with here. Regardless of political affiliation, regardless of religious affiliation or identity, you can see this bias already creeping in with some of the ways in which they title some of the segments of their report. I'm going to read the title here: The Sacred Values of Trumpism. So there you go. That just indicates a little bit of the bias that's creeping into this study. And I guess it's a cautionary tale to, if you see a headline, dig more into it like Barry did. Don't just throw it into the pile like Nick did. And I've been caught on this before too, right?
Yeah,
but I think this can still be saved because, again, as we're sticking with the religious theme, we can save this. No? All right. That joke didn't land. So we can, okay.
What do you want me to do? Walk on water?
Yeah, right. Here we go. So let's actually talk about what cell phones mean for us in society today.
Talk about some human factors.
Yeah, maybe we can juxtapose this with some things from this based on what they're saying here. But I think for me, there's the first thing I'll talk about is sort of the generational divide.
Yep.
I think there are the aging population kind of sees them as cell phones, not people, cell phones as, I don't know, just overall, there's sort of this perception that they are corrupting youth in some ways, right? And I don't think that is controversial to say. I think there are some very different opinions based on which generation that you're born in, and how you view cell phones. Like for me, millennial, I look at my phone as a tool. I'm on it quite frequently, but it is a tool to not only solve boredom, but also to, it's my calculator. It's my reference sheet. So that way I don't have to have everything in, hard copy. It is literally a tool for anything. It's an omni tool. It's a ubiquitous tool that I can sit there and reference at any time. And I think some of these opinions from other generations, and maybe within my own, from people towards smartphones in general, come from the types of usage that happens on these apps or on these phones, right? The various types of apps that are present on these phones, and more importantly, the design of those apps that encourages behaviors that are not pro-social. So what I'm talking about there is social media companies optimizing their algorithms for outrage. So that way it, sort of increases divisiveness when it comes to looking at, I don't know, a news story or something that is clearly, talk about biased in some way, shape, or form. It's going to alarm some, probably, irrationally, and it's going to, or it could have the opposite effect of sort of instigating a fight between various people who believe different things. There's a lot going on there, but I think ultimately when we talk about corruption of youth, that is kind of what we get at the heart of things, is how are these apps designed that is the perception of what people are using their cell phones for? How are people actually using their cell phones? Barry, do you derive meaning from your cell phone? How do you use your cell phone? Let's start there.
So I guess for me, yes, it is one of these things that, like you, I use it as a tool, but I use it for such a broad variety of things. I like you see some pictures and memes and stuff of it using it like a window, or an access portal to get all that sort of stuff. So it is all around, everything from my diary and all that sort of stuff, having that connected element. Doing show notes. So I'll open up the show notes up at the dinner table, and we'll all chat around or what the topic is, and what my one more thing can be. So then I can tap notes straight into the dinner table, then come up and finish them up. So it's a good quick access route to work stuff, to that type of thing. But then also it is the meaningless time wasting as well. So when you're waiting for something to happen, or you just sat around doing nothing, I think or certainly I feel like I've lost the ability just to sit and be in my own space. You always have to be doing something. And so now the de facto doing something, if you haven't got anything to do, is to pick up your phone and either look at the latest news on Twitter or Facebook, or pick a social media framework network, or play games, things like that, just simple games that you can do, or whatever. Play them, so it does become a device that you always want to have on you, want to pick on, and we don't want to put it down. And I think this is one of the really, I get the drive for addiction here, because you don't want to put it down, because you might miss something. You might miss a bit of news breaking, or you might just miss a mention on a social media network, or things like that. And this is where I think it really brings in something that I've talked about, or we've talked about before on here, and I talk about a fair bit in other things, is the difference around digital natives and digital immigrants, and non-digital people. And it's just about, so the digital immigrants are people who come in and adapt themselves to technology in the same way that you would learn a second language. You learn to use it, but it's not necessarily 100% your world, but you learn to use it pretty proficiently. And I think most of us who are sort of millennials and older sort of fit into that. Then you get your digital natives, which are sort of millennials and younger, and they're just because they think about this sort of stuff differently. Then it's just there to be used, and they use it all of the time. And so it isn't a special event to pick up a phone and use it. It's just natural. They're just there. It is the source. We don't think about, oh, how cool that source is there, that information is there to have. It's like, well, of course it's there. It's always been there. Why wouldn't it be there? And so that there is and there is sort of that generational divide, because it does bring one of the broader questions in, and it's about which you alluded to, is it's this perception of what is communication, what is a community, what is that sort of engagement, because we sort of look at this as saying, well, actually it's the physical interaction with people. You can't have any sort of relationship if you're not meeting face to face. Well, actually, you could argue that we're meeting loads and loads of people all the time, or we're talking to people all the time. But what we might not be having is deep and meaningful relationships. We might be having more and more superfluous relationships, which is something interesting that we kind of need to think about what the impact is. So when we're looking at how we are a more remote society, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, if we didn't have this ability to connect, I mean, I know we're not doing it through a mobile phone at the moment, but we chat on Discord and things like that outside of this. Is that a bad thing or a good thing? We would never have been able to meet, or well, technically we still have never met, but yet
Right.
we know an awful lot about it. I mean, we spent the entire day with each other the other day, which we wouldn't have been able to do without this sort of technology. But does that mean that we don't have a good relationship in that respect? Do we not know that much about each other? Well, that's clearly not true. So yeah, so what are is physical connectivity needed for a human relationship, and therefore the mobile phone is taking, or the smartphone is taking that away? Or is it, do we just need to look at relationships differently? Nick, what do you think?
I think you're right. Let's think about relationships differently, but I want to tackle a point that you made about sort of pulling out your phone to fill time and chasing the news or anything like that, or chasing sort of understanding of the world in some way, shape, or form. And what I mean by that is not necessarily news, but if somebody posts on a social channel, are you chasing to know what the latest is with your friends? Are you chasing to kind of keep up to date with your network on LinkedIn, those types of things? I want to bring up a point of like what is actually happening at a biochemical level with us when we are looking at our phones, right? So we are pulling out our phones because we're bored and we're seeking some sort of dopamine hit. And that is a hallmark of addiction, is when you seek that dopamine from some source and you get those withdrawals when you don't have it. And so, yes, phone addiction is a real thing and can happen. But at a basic biological level, that's what we're doing, is we're seeking a dopamine hit. And what do we get from those, or what triggers those dopamine hits? Well, in some cases, it can be like, I don't know, following good news. If you read a bunch of good, positive headlines that are just generally good for the world, then that's great. You're going to get that dopamine hit. If you're following your friends and family who post positive things about their lives, this is where it gets a little tricky, because you might see something. People put on their best selves on social media.
Mhm.
And so you might see something that makes you jealous. And then you start to have a different body reaction to that, where you're like, oh, but you mean they're in Paris right now and I'm in the States and they're enjoying themselves on a vacation and I'm sitting here working, and there's these complex feelings. Maybe jealousy creeps in. Like, I want to be on vacation. Oh, Nick and Barry, they're covering HFES. Nick is there at the conference and Barry's jealous.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, we put on our best selves when we present ourselves to the world, and that alone is a lot of interesting feelings that go on with that. And something that I guess was brought up in therapy for me, and I'm being fully candid here. I chase the news for that dopamine hit myself, right?
Mhm.
Politics. I'm a politics junkie, and so sometimes I will sit there and read the news all day just to get some more information, especially during election season. Right now, I've actually been very good at putting it down. HFES was a good distractor for all that, and I haven't really picked it up too much. But that is something that can happen. And one question that my therapist kept bringing up is, what will happen if you miss some of that news? Will you as a person change fundamentally because you don't know a piece of information? If there is anything big, you will likely hear about it. If you miss something about the next Star Wars movie being released, is it going to kill you? Well, maybe. I don't know. I'm a huge Star Wars fan and I'd love to know. Right. And the same thing can go with other aspects of your life. What is going to happen if you miss this thing? If you miss the premiere of a Disney Plus show that airs at midnight your time to actually sleep, are you going to be fundamentally different if you watch it in the morning? No. So starting to think about some of those things, and really there's sort of a call for more awareness about what these types of things that we do to chase this dopamine, to chase these hits, do for mental health. And I don't think a lot of the platforms that we use now for news or social media or otherwise, video games, do a good job of this. There are some disclaimers in them, obviously, like in video games. If you feel unwell or you feel like spending $1,000 on this game, don't do it. Consult a doctor, those types of things. And they're there, but they're largely ineffective. I think there's other discussions around what we can do for policy and regulation that would help with some of those things. But I just think a larger awareness sort of around mental health and what these types of interactions do. And I know there are good researchers out there. I know there are good designers out there who are trying their best to sort of present situations where maybe there is something that might be ultimately detrimental to a human, but is, better for the platform as a whole. And they're trying to reconcile that in their own conscience as they're trying to design something that somebody else has told them to make that may be sort of, damaging for people in general. I understand we have a social thought. Barry, do you want to read this?
Yeah, so like we try and do now. So whenever we put a topic out there, we try and get some people's thoughts and interactions. And this one came in from Mark Jones, who's a good friend of mine, lives just down the road. And he's not a human factors practitioner at all. In fact, he's an electrician, but he's been bought into listening to our podcasts and learning more about it, which is brilliant. So anyway, Mark says that he took the car for an MOT this morning and had great intentions of reading his book. 3 hours he was there, and Facebook and TikTok grabbed his attention. He sometimes wishes that he didn't have social media anymore. He's got 6 books he wants to read, but his phone won't let him. And that's quite true. I mean, I'm an avid reader. I've got I love when I'm away on business. It's my absolute favorite thing to do is to make. I never switch the telly on. I've always got my book there, but I have noticed more and more. I will sit there and scroll through I mean, you can lose hours on TikTok just doing that, or reels off and the shorts, and doing which platform you're playing with, and you can just lose that. And I can sort of see I'll read a bit of my book and then I'll pick up my phone again and have a bit more of a thing, because that's not even trying to find the latest news. It's just scrolling through stuff, which I think is a relatively new phenomenon, but it's interesting.
Yeah, and I'm just going to comment on this too, because it's not just with social media too. It's like with mobile games too. A lot of mobile games that you access through your phone are now sort of designed in ways that just the one more cycle is sort of the concept, right? Where you have sort of these behavioral paths in video games in which you complete a cycle, and that could be like an upgrade cycle or a level up cycle or something. And you have enough of these cycles going on at any one given time that you're just close enough to finishing off the next one. So you're like, why don't I just do that? And then I will be done. But then when you've completed that, you're very close to the next one. And so it becomes more and more difficult to peel away from those types of interactions when you have mobile games that are designed in that way to encourage that loop. That gameplay loop is what they call it. And so that's another sort of aspect of it. And that gameplay loop concept is applied to any of the things that you're using, right? A TikTok. You watch something for a couple seconds, it holds your attention, you flip on to the next one. That's the loop. That loop is so small, so short. What that does for our attention span is a completely different subject and topic, but that is the loop. And so when you think just one more, it'll just be a couple seconds more. You're sitting there for 30 minutes later, and we're contributing to that. Thank you for plugging that, by the way, Barry. We have shorts out on our social platforms now.
I guess the next step we've got with this then, given that we've almost spoken about how worrying and how bad this is, the flip side is, right, what can we do in terms of human factors perspective to do stuff around it? So when we designing this stuff, can we engineer social fail safes, or can we engineer our way out of this? And I think, Nick, you've got some good examples of best practice, perhaps.
Yeah, so there are some ways in which we can think about, well, how do we do this, right? There's the obvious ones, like, let's not take advantage of human psychology in ways that are going to be beneficial for our pocketbooks, but maybe not so beneficial for society. There's that. But then there's also, are there ways in which we can hijack our relationships with our phone? And I've talked about this on the show before, but there are certain, I guess I'm just going to say the name of it. Jackbox Games is a perfect example. It actually hijacks your phone as an interaction method. So that way, as you are playing a social game with other people, you cannot be distracted by your phone because you are interacting with your phone as a control mechanism for this game. What if we took that concept and applied it to other aspects of life, work, school, right? What might that look like? So in a classroom setting, if you actually have some sort of platform that allows you to engage and interact with concepts that are being taught in the classroom, yes, that's a lot more work for teachers and they're already overworked, but can you imagine what that would do to reduce distractions and increase engagement? Because you are no longer just a passive listener. You are actually engaging with platforms. And this is what there are some technologies out there already that are looking at this type of thing, like in classroom polls and pop quizzes that you answer on your phone, on your devices. So that way you have to be engaged. You have to stay awake and aware of what's going on at any given time. Because if you don't, then you're going to miss these things. And hopefully you're not punished for them, but you're rewarded for, that's a whole other discussion too, right? We're just throwing out other discussions that we can have. But those types of interactions, right? And if you think about what happens at work, right? Is there some sort of way in which we can design workspaces that hijack this thing too? I don't know of any current technologies out there that look at a workspace in this way, where we're sort of using our phone as a control device. I can think of maybe one example might be in retail stores where they actually have employees using the apps on their personal phones. So that way they have to use the apps while they're on the floor and not be distracted by other things while they're helping out customers. Right. So that's one, I guess, example of it. But I think there might be other ways to sort of, I don't want to say monopolize, because that's not great in this context, but sort of use that technology or use that paradigm of using our cell phones, hijacking our cell phones. That's what I call it, to sort of act as an interaction method for our day to day.
I guess the flip side is true as well. So I've worked on, I guess, in the military environment. So there's certain element places where you can go, you just can't take your phone at all. And you walk in, and in fact worked for a number of years. A place where as soon as you walked in, you locked your phone away, and you had no interaction with it except for you could go outside and check it, but you weren't allowed to bring it on the floor plate. So most of your time you weren't allowed it. And it was interesting, I guess the way I felt going through that. So initially I was like, well, how dare you? How I'm not going to do anything bad with my phone. What I don't want to take. Why take it away from me? You're cutting off a limb, But actually, once you get into, again, you it's like, I guess, like anything, you get used to it, and you're just like, yeah, go out and check it a couple of times. But actually, it was fine, just sat there doing its own thing until you forgot what number locker you locked it in, which happened to me once, and that was slightly painful. So yeah, I guess what's I think my wife would quite happily agree that she's maybe got a bit of a smartphone addiction, where she's now done it in a way that at night she'll pass me her phone, so I plug it in on my side of the bed, so she can't wake up in the middle of the night and just immediately pick it up and look at it, which is good from a behavioral perspective. She's addressing and dealing with the problem. Except, as we found last night, I woke up middle of the night to find her on her phone. Is because she'd gone out, crept around the outside of the bed, so she didn't wake me up, quietly unhook the phone and take it back. And that's not quite delivering what it is that you wanted to deliver. So I think considering you didn't plan it, we've had a really, really good conversation around that. Is there any more sort of loose rounds or final thoughts that you've got on this one?
For me, it's just sort of an awareness piece. Understand why. It's more like a PSA than anything, right? Like, understand why you're reaching for your phone. Are you trying to fill that boredom? What would happen if you took a couple more seconds to think about, I don't know, whatever else you got going on, instead of sort of using it as a distraction? I've been exercising this in practice. It's fine. It's totally fine. If I miss what's going on Twitter, it's fine. I'll hear about it if it's really important. Otherwise, there's no reason for me to get outraged about anything. What about you, Barry? Any other sort of last?
I guess there was one bit of the study that was interesting that so one of the key findings was that feeling of attachment is highest for those who use social media less often. However, the researchers found that individuals seeking solace or connection through their phones in shorter spurts might exacerbate the attachment. So basically, people who are using it, using social media more, actually didn't had less of a problem here, which I thought was interesting. But for me, I still wonder. It goes back to a comment you made at the start: is this truly a problem that is a real problem, or is it a made-up problem by people who don't understand how phones work? And that might just be me trying to get around my just doing some self-justification there. But given that we sort of say that they are really antisocial, well, actually, it's part of it's one of the comments I usually make in my presentations is, well, actually, it's only antisocial to the people that perhaps you're in front of, but you're actually talking to a whole bunch of people just because they're not in the room. So who's got the problem? Which is interesting. Anyway, so but
Yeah.
whilst I think the article might have been slightly dubiously sourced, I think it provoked a good discussion. So well done.
Well, thank you to us for selecting the topic because we forgot to do the poll this week. Thank you to Baylor University for a news story this week. If you want to follow along, we do post the links to the original articles on our weekly roundups in our blog. You can also join us in our Discord for more discussion on these stories and much, much more. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back to see what's going on in the Human Factors community right after this.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our weekly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and Human Factors Minute, a Patreon-only weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you. Thank you, and remember, it depends.
Yes, huge thank you as always to our patrons. We especially want to thank our honorary Human Factors Cast staff, patron Michelle Tripp. Truly, patrons like you keep the show running. Like I always make the joke, lights on, all that. Truly, it does. Like that support is it goes a long way. And I don't think people may or may not know how far that support goes. We have a whole lab that we need to support. But I want to talk about something during this little section of the show where I like to talk about things related to supporting us. We typically have patrons choose the news, which I alluded to, we forgot to do, but there was a lot of excitement around HFES. So forgive me. I was on a flight on Friday and I forgot to put it up. So we chose the story this week. However, most of our stories, like 99.9% of our stories, this is the 0.1%, are chosen by you, the audience. Now, if you are listening to the show, please interact with us on social media after we just had a long discussion about what social media can do for you. This is dumb. So I should have planned this better. We do post the links to these polls on our website. So if you follow the link back to our website, you'll see the Twitter poll there. You can actually choose to leave a vote on Twitter or LinkedIn. We have a poll there as well about what you want to hear about. And this is usually just a couple stories that we've picked off the top of our heads. And we're like, yes, we can have a discussion about this. It might be, a biased source or methodology not sound, but we can talk about it. So anyway, there's that. And if you're a patron, your vote counts a little bit more than everybody else's. We like to, like I said, they keep the lights on. So we like to give them what they want. And we always kind of give them the preferential treatment. All right. With all that being said, go vote on some stuff. And you know what? Just generally go vote. Here in the States, it's election season. So if you've got your ballot, just go vote. So there's that. Anyway, let's get into this next part of the show.
It came from.
We've had that intro to this segment for like the better part of a year. I need to redo that because it's just dumb visually. And I don't know what we need to do to fix it. Anyway, there's that. So if you're listening to the show, sorry, but there's a stupid intro on video that you can watch if you check us out on social media. Again, plugging the social media on an episode about the dangers of social media. So there we go. Let's get into It Came From. This is the part of the show where we search all over the internet to bring you topics that the community is talking about. If you find these answers useful, give us a like to help other people find this content. We have 3 up tonight. This first one here is a fun one. This is by Evil Piggy on the user experience subreddit. They write, what are some fun and short icebreaker games for your teams? Barry, what do you use as icebreakers?
I don't. Icebreakers make me just die a little bit inside. Soon I've got to. It's one of these things that I just don't like them. And whenever when you go on a course and things like that, and the the first thing that the organizer says is, right, to get to know everybody, we're going to do an icebreaker. And a little part of me just shrivels up. Though I get the reason why we do them, and they are really, really useful, and from that perspective. But I'm not going to play the game of this one. I'm not going to tell you which ones work well, because I don't want anybody to do them at all. Is that being really sort of down on this? You must have some really good ones though.
I do, yeah. So the one that I like the most is Two Truths and a Lie, and I will play it with you. You don't have to answer, and I'm not going to tell you the answer, because if anyone's listening and wants to play along, they can do so too. But I find that Two Truths and a Lie is really interesting because it forces people to get creative. It forces people to sort of think outside the box. If they're prepared for it ahead of time, they can come up with some really good things. And so I always have sort of one that I like to give people, and I have that here, I will tell you. But it also forces others to sort of, reflect on it forces people to reflect on human psychology, which in a lot of cases is really interesting. So here are my three. I am Facebook friends with Terry Crews and know them personally.
Cool.
That's one. Two, I've urinated on a Jonas Brother.
Less cool.
Three, I can one-hand clap.
That's a skill.
Which one do you think is the lie?
I don't think you're friends with Terry Crews.
Well, I will leave that to everybody's judgment. If you want to know the answer, come join us in Discord. There you go. Another plug for the Discord.
There you go. Good shout.
Check
Okay.
that out. All right. All right. This next one here. Feeling lonely, and I'll tell you in the I'll tell you in the post show. Or I'll text it to you in our chat here. This next one here is by Panda Puddin on the UX Research subreddit. Feeling lonely and isolated as a UX researcher. Sorry. During the pre-show, we read this to a melancholy music track. Anyway. And an upbeat one, too. They go on to write, "Hi, everyone. How common is it to feel lonely and isolated working as a UX researcher? Is UX research inherently a solitary role? I work at a large company on a team of UX researchers that serves 10 plus product teams. I rotate to a new product team every 5 weeks for a new study. I rarely collaborate with other researchers, and my involvement with the product teams is minimal outside of intro meetings, kickoffs, presentations. I feel very separated from the teams I work with, and it's been a challenge to build rapport in the span of a single project. As someone who's energized by close collaboration and feeling part of a cohesive team, I'm concerned that as a UX researcher, I will always be seen as a consultant on the sidelines, someone to tap when you need them, and not someone who is part of the team effort to make a successful product. Love to hear about your experiences with collaboration as UX researchers. Do you identify as an extrovert? How have you fared?" Barry, is this a isolating experience?
I've sort of struggled with this one as I've read it, because I've always felt that, so take the UX and larger HF approach. We generally are the sort of people who are the ones who reach out to different parts of teams, and actually I often describe us as almost the glue that brings projects together. So to find somebody who's really struggling to get involved in them teams, there's almost there can only really be one of two issues. One is that the teams are being really sort of really standoffish and not letting you get involved, or if you're expecting them to come to you, part of our role is to go out and step out and be the person to go and try and drag them in, because we're the people. And when you're talking with, and I don't mean to be derogatory to software engineers and them sort of types, but they don't talk as much as we do. And so we sort of bring them in. So depending on which way it goes, but I also picked up on this rotate to a new product every 5 weeks. That seems, if the product development lifecycle isn't just 5 weeks long, and you're constantly rotating through different things, that sounds interesting and difficult. I'd be quite intrigued as to what the rationale behind that is, because I think that's you're clearly making and breaking a team every 5 weeks. So that's got to be quite a difficult pace to keep up with. But they say that they're energized by close collaboration and things like that. I do wonder whether it's they enjoy it if it happens around them rather than them going out and creating it. So yeah, it does sound like they're in a tough position, but I kind of feel that they need to go out and they need to solve it, and they are part of the solution.
I have some issues with the way that they phrase things in this. In this, it came from it. They say I'm on a small team of UX researchers. 10 researchers.
That's not a small team.
That is not a small team.
Oh. But I think I went down with that, but then you go it's on 10 plus product teams. So I looked at it was
like one per product team.
It's a horizontal.
Yeah.
So rather than things, so they're not the part of a so it's not really a team, it's a capability, I would suggest.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm just wondering that they say large company, and I'm wondering what's happening here is that the resolution of projects is so small that that you can do it in 5 weeks. You're looking at micro changes on a large product, color of a button or something like that, right? Where you have this very large team, this very large company looking at very micro level changes. And if that's the case, this makes somewhat sense to me. It doesn't give you that opportunity to build these teams and to sort of increase that rapport, as this person so puts it. I don't find that the experience as a UX researcher is isolating. I think, I work plenty with designers and PMs and developers and everything like that. And I think our relationships are fine. And I speak with them multiple times a week. I think what's happening here is that the resolution on these things are so small. That is my suspicion, because when things are that small, there's not a need to collaborate as much. You kind of have the details that you need to set right. If you're looking at a color on a button, well, maybe A/B test a couple colors, maybe ABC test, whatever. There's a couple ways to figure that stuff out without the need for a larger collaborative piece. And I think in human factors, just generally, some of the projects, some of the products, some of the things that we look at are much larger in scope. Some can be micro like that. But I think when you're looking at like a UX research role in an embedded large company, that might be what's happening here. Because I don't think that experience is typical of at least those in my network. I feel like it's a pretty collaborative experience for a lot of them. Yeah. Any other thoughts on that one, Barry?
No, I'd agree. I think it sounds, if they're unhappy in doing this and they've been there a while, and it might just be that sort of it might be cultural more than anything else. And I have just been messaged by Amanda, who's actually listening, to also suggest that it's potentially more cultural as well. So, so if it's something like that that's going to be completely ongoing, then maybe that's the time to think, well, actually, is this the right? If this is going to be the culture going forward, is this the right position for you? Is there a better one out there if you want to go and have that more teamy, collaboratively approach?
Yeah. All right, we got one more here. This is by Dumb087 on the UX Research subreddit. They ask about conducting user interviews over chat. Hi, everyone. I'm a PM at a small startup, and I do a lot of user interviews, typically over Zoom. After a couple of weeks, I noticed that they're really time-consuming. Could do most 5 per day before getting completely burnt out or running out of time in the day. I was wondering if anyone else experiences this and whether it makes sense to conduct user interviews over chat instead. Probably miss out on facial and voice cues, but seems like a reasonable trade-off. Thoughts on whether this could be a viable way to do user interviews? Barry, what do you think about chat?
My initial thought on this, and I've got to be brutally honest, was suck it up, buttercup. Interviews are hard work. And I almost get to that piece of if you're not actually if you're doing a day's worth of interviews, or you're doing a bunch of interviews and you're not tired at the end of it, are you putting enough into it? Are you actually spending the time and effort to work with the interviewees and things like that? You can do them over chat, you can do them over Zoom, and you can do that. There is other ways to do things. I've done particularly through COVID and stuff, that was what we had to do. That was there. But the richest experience you get, particularly, one-to-ones, focus groups in particular, I find, if you're doing groups of people, because not only do you get the output of what they're saying, but you get the social cues, the interactions between people, and you can see whether people have reacted well or badly to what somebody else has said. But if you're doing, five in a day and get complete burnt out or running out of time in the day, that's the way it is, I'm afraid. In my experience, anyway, I think it just is. If you're trying to downgrade it to chat or through that other thing just to make your life easier, I think you're going to lose good quality input. If it means you can do more and you can keep going for longer, and then I guess there is a trade-off there to be had. But if you're just a bit tired, then crack on. Nick, what do you think? Am I just being too unsympathetic here?
Maybe. I think it's a tool in the toolbox that you can use. If you can use a chatbot to get, data from people, use it. If you can use chat as a tool to get data, then use it. There are probably better methods to do so. But if the method matches the scope and the information that you're looking to get, there's no reason. Let's use that previous example, right? What color do you prefer? A or B? Okay. Well, then, that's preference, but there's obviously science that goes into that whole thing, but very superficial level, right? If you need a preference on something, A or B, what do you like? That could be done through chat and doesn't need to be a full interview. If you have it as a piece of your toolbox and use it, why not? I just think it really depends on that scope that we were talking about. What's the level of scope? If you're doing like a huge discovery project, you got to sit down with those people and really understand their problems. All right, that's it. It's time for this last part of the show we just like to call One More Thing. Barry, what is your one more thing? It's exciting.
See, I was going to tell you all about my day yesterday, where I was my first challenging. Did I tell you I got a new car?
Oh yeah.
On the EV front, where I had a really time pressured day, long trip over 400 miles to try and do, and it didn't quite work in terms of the adequate charging infrastructure, etc., etc. I was going to tell you all about that. And then the British Prime Minister said, well, basically, hold my pint, hold my beer, because she's decided to resign today. And so having only been in place for 44 days, that's just like literally just over a month, she decided she's had enough. She can't do the job and give it across to somebody else. So that's the latest drama over here in the UK, is the fact that we're now leaderless again.
Yeah. Well, I was doing a little research on UK politics too, and even though they were only in office for 44 days, they still get paid.
They do.
Yes. So that's fun. That's where your money's going. Feel good about that?
Oh, I feel so rewarded about that. But what made it even better was she was doing. So they do Prime Minister's questions every Wednesday, every week when Parliament's in session, and so only yesterday she stood in front of the leader of the opposition when they were doing their verbal sword play, and he was basically calling for her to resign, and she said, "I'm a fighter, not a quitter." And if this is what fighting looks like, I'd hate to see what quitting looks like.
All right.
So but it's interesting. I mean, there are some interesting little bits about this from our perspective. That firstly, there's the whole front bit about how, at what point does a leader actually lead and then become managed? Because clearly she's been managed for the past couple of days by other people around her, and it's interesting seeing that almost that transition of power, which had clearly happened. And so from a psychological perspective, I think it's thoroughly interesting. But as an actual citizen of my country, I find it utterly depressing. Anyway.
Well, I have something a little less depressing. I want to start my one more thing with just wow. I am so undepressed from HFES. It was absolutely amazing. And I just want to take a moment to sincerely thank every single one of you, yes, you listening to this show, who stopped by the booth, said hi, stopped by, told me stories about the podcast, what it means to you in your life. I kept telling everybody that stops by, I see this. This is a camera every week. I talk into this. This is a microphone. And Barry, I see you on my screen alongside the show notes. That is what I see every week. And occasionally there's some chat that pops in, and the pre-show was really great for that today. But I got to say, it's rare that, and we see the numbers come in and that's all there. But to actually interact with some of you, that was so energizing. I cannot just, I'm still on a high from some of the conversations I had. There were several people who stopped by and told me that the podcast actually helped them discover human factors as a field, and now they're going to school for it. Like, that is a
Awesome.
huge compliment. And just it like, I called my wife and almost cried on the phone because I was like, this is going to sound so dumb. You know, I sit in that podcast booth every week and do that stupid thing. People come up to me and said they like it and they want me to keep doing more of it, and it means a lot to them. So it sincerely almost made me cry. And I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for everyone that stopped by, and everyone who listens, who can't stop by, that I appreciate you. And seriously, this show couldn't happen without you, and it just means the world to me. And that's what I wanted to spend my one more thing on this week. So thank you all for tuning in. That's it for today, everyone. If you like this episode, enjoy some of the discussion about maybe what cell phones can do for your mental health, go check in with our episode 236 on how we can better define mental health. Comment wherever you're listening with what you think of the story this week. For more in-depth discussion and for answers on my 2 truths and a lie, you can always join us on our Discord community. Visit our official website, sign up for our newsletter, stay up to date with all the latest human factors news. If you like what you hear, you want to support the show, there's a couple things you can do. One, just say hi. That you can do that, and that really makes me feel good, and Barry feel good too. I kept relaying all those stories to Barry. I was like, hey, this happened, and his ego just inflated. But seriously, if you want to support the show, say hi, leave us a 5-star review. That's free for you to do. You can do that right now, wherever you're watching, listening, thumbs up, all that stuff. 2, tell your friends about us. Like I said, we got those show trailers out there now. Show them the show trailer. It kind of gives a good overview of what this podcast and 1202 is all about. We always love new listeners. And 3, if you're able to financially support us on Patreon. That is, like I said, seriously keeps the lights on. I keep joking about it, but it really does. As always, links to all of our socials and our website are in the description of this episode. Mr. Barry Kirby, thank you for coming back after that 10-hour live stream and agreeing to do another episode with me. Where can our listeners go and find you if they want to talk about maybe where you store your phone at night?
Yes, well, if you want to come and find out about me and my phone, find us on social media, particularly on Twitter at Baz_K. Or if you want to come on to the 1202 The Human Factors podcast and listen to some interviews with some interesting people, not least of which Mr. Nick Roome has been a subject of the interrogation, find us at 1202podcast.com.
As for me, I've been your host, Nick Roome. You can find me on our Discord and across social media at Nick_Roome. Thanks again for tuning in to Human Factors Cast. Until next time. It depends. Wow, we made it through another episode. Can't believe that.
Dude, that was on fire.
Wow.
Who did adrenaline would work? And actually,
did you take a stim before?
Yeah, today was a special episode because my wife, Amanda, has never listened to any of my episodes before. And I'm fairly sure she's never listened to any of these before, but she's dropped in there she's been watching it on YouTube. And
yeah, I saw her in the chat.
Yeah, and then she was dropping me, because she was asking who's Terry Crews, so I dropped her a link through Facebook on who was, and the comment was, oh, that guy, okay. And then she was commenting on the one more thing, and she's intrigued. She wants to know which Jonas brother.
Oh, I didn't get his name.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I guess it's not the right time to ask if you're urinating on him.
Yeah, no,
which is
I didn't get his name.
But that was fun. I enjoyed that one. That was good. But yeah, I didn't go to town so much. Around the going into depth on the methodology of this. I think I could have been a lot harsher, and I restrained myself.
Yeah, you were pretty restrained. I'm pretty impressed. I gotta say, you could have gone pretty hard on that.
Yes, but I didn't want to cause an international incident. I don't have a prime minister to fall back on. So.
Oh right, okay, yeah, sure, fine. I just sent you which one is the lie.
I saw that.
And
cool.
Yeah.
In that case, yeah, that's I might have. So I've realised that I've not actually we're not connected on other social media networks.
What?
We're not on Facebook. We haven't connected.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I don't know why. So I shall try to solve that.
Oh, like on... No, it says it's connected on my end.
Are we? Okay. Well, maybe we are then.
Yeah.
Um,
I wonder if you're just having visibility into yours. I don't know. Because I see we have connected on... We've had quite a few people dropping in tonight. Thank you for joining us live. I really appreciate the live chat. Always adds another element to the interactivity.
it does help.
Oh, Amanda says checking in because you were moaning about it earlier. Is that
Okay, fair enough. She actually listened to my. I was having a little thing that she did. She never listens to anything that I do or anything. I just disappear at the end of the garden. I could be doing anything, and she doesn't really pay any attention. So clearly, she has this time. Maybe I guilt tripped her, and I'm now clearly I'm not going to go back into the house for another good couple of hours because I'm clearly going to get it in the neck.
Well, thank you for tuning into this program, Amanda. Really appreciate that.
Yeah. No, she tunes into yours, not to mine. You know, it's favorite.
No, and I really appreciate that. That's very kind. Oh man. Well,
such a week.
Wow. Yeah. No, it was I am always impressed with us when we can pull out shows like that where either I didn't read the story beforehand or something comes up and it's just like, oh yeah, that's gonna be an issue or problematic during the yeah. Oh. We want to do more of the fun readings. Okay.
Oh yes.
Yeah, hold on.
Doing them during the recording probably would have been slightly out of context.
Yeah, it would have been. Hold on. If we're gonna do, yeah, if anyone else has bad headlines that they want me to read in a cheerful manner, let me know with some good
or cheerful headlines in a bad manner, I guess. So.
Or cheerful headlines in a bad manner. I would prefer that actually.
I was going to say it's not a cheerful headline, but apparently, yeah, no, that wouldn't work either. Where's my news thing? Because I close all my other stuff down, then I lose it. I'm debating about changing my setup slightly and actually having. Oh, okay.
Oh. I think that's a very interesting topic. I feel it's a little heavy for the show. I mean, like, you're in our Discord, and I'd highly recommend bringing that up. I'd be curious on other people's thoughts and opinions on that. So the only reason I'm hesitating on bringing it up on the show proper is because we have listeners in Ukraine, and that would be hard to listen to, I think. And they're not a big portion of our listenership, but they're enough to where I don't want to bring up any sensitive topics for geopolitical.
But if you do bring that to the Discord, then I'm more than happy to chat about it because I've been doing projects on it. In fact, before the whole thing kicked off, because it's not actually that new. It's relatively new. But I've been doing some projects to help combat it. So bring that into the Discord. More than happy to chat. And now everybody else has got no idea what we're talking about. There's three of us who know what.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. So there's a chat here from Vanessa saying, was wondering if you were going to mention the kamikaze drones. Russia is apparently doing kamikaze drones. So drones is kamikaze bombs. Can't talk. We've already done the show, so I've got all my good talking out. So that's the story that we're mentioning here. But I think what we could do is where is that headline?
What I was mentioning was I'm thinking about changing my setup and having actually a almost a podcast production-y setup and a work setup, because currently I use my work laptop for this, and I just don't even the latest updates to different bits, it's not got quite the poke that I think it needs. I need a secure desk redesign.
Why does it echo when I bring up that third source?
Because I'm a source into your computer, and therefore it's an audio output, and therefore you're echoing out.
Oh, yep. Is that why?
Probably.
Hold on. That feels wrong. Audio input. If audio output, I do this. I don't think it might be a leftover thing from the live show. But how's that? Is that echoing?
Is there echoing now? Yes, there is.
Is there? I don't know why that's happening. Anyway, let's just read that headline. Okay, here we go. Russia is using drones as kamikaze bombs.
That's not funny, but it's funny.
Can we let's get some happy stories in here, like, child saves bus full of kittens.
I've got one for you.
Oh, do you? Okay. Here, sorry, I'll kill that. I'm gonna look into that. I don't understand why this is happening. I don't know why that's happening. Sarah, maybe. Let me see here. System sounds. I don't know. That's interesting to me. Okay, you got a story here for me to read.
I just cut and paste the head.
Yeah, I see it. Hang on. That feels very It's Always Sunny to me. Let's see. I'm looking for different songs every time because I want to switch it up. This one. I'm pretty sure everyone's heard this track. Hang on, because this one's this. I feel like you hear this on every YouTube video. Hang on, let me get it going here. All right. Where was it? All right. Judge finds Trump likely to have conspired to defraud U.S. with false election claims. Judge David Carter says 4 emails from Trump attorney John Eastman must be disclosed under the crime fraud exception. There you go.
That's very good.
Monkeys Spinning Monkeys is the name of that track.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Barry, I almost like this format better. Since we did it on the live show, what do you think about this?
It makes me bigger, so yeah, no, I'm all for that.
It makes it a little more intimate too, I think, right? Just like, if you're
I could almost just stroke you type thing.
Yeah, you're right here. It's like
I'll say the mirroring me is like
high five.
You can high five.
Yeah. Oh, what are we, 5? All right, let's see.
I'm not that mature.
Oh yes, I heard about this. Story. A British physicist, Jess Wade. She wrote 1,750 Wikipedia entries for overlooked women scientists. Yeah, so this is awesome. And I think this deserves some melancholy music. Here, let's pick out a.
I'll tell you what. I have to say, Chris Reed's been hot on the social media on the LinkedIn over the past week after HFES, and we've been getting shout outs all over the place. Brilliant.
I know we've been Yeah. Let's see here. Music for a funeral home. There we go. There we go. All right, ready? A British physicist, Jess Wade, wrote 1,750 Wikipedia entries for overlooked women scientists. The world is in mourning.
That's really
Still had
cool
the-
though, because we need more recognition for what the work that female scientists and engineers have done in the past.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Barry. I think next week I'm going to do this. This is a format, and I think because what does this
We'll
look
give
like
it a
with
go.
3? Yeah, what does this look like with 3? I think this is okay with 3, right? It looks, it's like this with 3.
Okay. So it's going to be a bit of a sandwich.
It'll be a little bit of a sandwich, but I mean, like I can switch things around, right? Like I can be over here, you can be over there, you can sandwich. Oh yeah, are we doing that? Okay.
Oh my god! Oh, you go even closer. That's really fun.
Oh,
I think that's what I had.
120.
We did it. Nah. Going back to, I don't think we would make 5 at this rate.
What's that?
I don't think we would make the 85 at this rate.
No, I don't. I think this is definitely like a 3-year-old thing. This is the post show. This is the celebration that we made it through the show, everybody. So thank you for sticking around with us. If there's any other topics that you want us to bring up, we're happy to talk about it here. I think there was a lot of good discussion tonight. I'm really happy with the way that went. Don't know what else to talk about. It's been a minute since we've done a post show.
It's hard. Yes, because the one before I cut short for some reason. I can't remember why.
Yeah. Hey Barry,
I think
I
I was just generally.
got an idea.
Uh-oh.
Can you hold on. Is there any way
I can hold on.
Yeah, is there any way that you can stand up and get out of frame for a second? All right, I think you're good. You're good. Come on back. Oop. Didn't mean to kill you. There we go. All right. Oh, we'll see if this works. Oh, right. So the other day, I went to the store. Cool story, right?
Okay.
You wouldn't believe what they had on the shelf.
Good.
This is here in the States, so like just use your imagination for a second. What's like the most what's the word I'm looking for? What's the not weird. Weird is the wrong word. What is the most interesting thing that you can think that might be on the shelves in the United States other than a gun? Because we've already talked about that on the show.
Yeah, I was going to say M16 just randomly sat on the shelf. Interesting from an American perspective. The biggest jar, well, I know you do this anyway, but the biggest jars of peanut butter that I absolutely love, and we can't get on here. But I don't know. I'm struggling to think. Remote battery chargers.
Oh, we have those remote battery chargers. Yeah, but no, the thing I was talking about was they actually had a teleporter. So now I'm actually in your space.
That's cool. The level of geek is. You actually, if I don't, you'd have been sat in my chair and everything.
Yeah.
It's, That's quite cool, isn't it?
This looks ridiculous, doesn't it?
Yes. Actually, if you go back to the framed mode that we usually in, that might even work even better.
No, because it captures that and all the crap that I got on the left hand side there.
Oh, that's true. But it does make it look like
and the Rode mic. I'm sitting in front of it.
Yes.
So
that's quite
yeah,
cool.
no, it only works like this.
Yes. It's yeah, we always need to. I was gonna say, you always need the photo of the second half of the room just to be able to cook properly. If you're gonna get completely geeky about it.
Oh yeah, if we're gonna get geeky about it, that'd be funny.
For a quick like, sort of 2-minute thing, that's a good job.
You know, I mean, so what would be funny though is if we actually made a 3D set that we set as our backgrounds, and it was stitched in the middle right here.
Yes. Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool. Virtual space.
If we made it, must be able to, because one of the things I was going to try and chat to a couple of friends about, we've sort of talked about it before, is how could we do this almost on a meta basis, or so we, rather than just being on the screens like this, could we do it in some sort of 3D environment, some sort of virtual environment that we could push out through this. And so this would all remain the same, but it would actually make it look like we were properly sat in the space. I don't know quite how we'd make that work, but sure, that's got to be the next level approach. I think it'd be cool.
That would be cool.
Yeah,
I agree.
I shall chat to some people and see if they've got any thoughts on how to make it happen. So
back to this. No, I actually really like this approach. I think this is probably good for us long term, and I think actually this aspect ratio is a little bit better for some of the other stuff that we put out there. Allows me to switch back and forth easier, and there's another reason why I thought this was good. But I mean, this super hard, this awesome background that our lab worked on, that's gone. But that's okay. I appreciate the work that they put in.
It'll still be there, and
it'll still be there for other instances. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Is there actually? But that banner, the banner stays there, doesn't it? That works.
Yeah, the banner's fine. The banner's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's good. That it's
I think this makes it scalable for when we have more folks on too, because if because I want to cap out at 4. Yeah, I think it will go quad if we have 4. So like if we didn't like that. Hold on. Why did you not like that? Why didn't you like that? Did I freeze?
No,
I'm still here. I don't understand. Can you just share with me a secondary source so that way I can get like 3 up here? It won't let me do it. There you go. Oh, are you sure you want to share that? What is that?
it's just the Google News.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm just going to share it really quick. I just want to see what happens when we go to 4. Oh, I don't like that. No, I don't. What is that? What? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Cool. It's either this or this. That is dumb. Can we? What is?
Is that just chop the top off?
It chops the top off. That is dumb. Why does it do that?
No, I don't like that.
No, this is real dumb. Can we change it if I do? Okay, well, so if I get rid of the, that's the problem, is I have to get rid of that. So I guess it could work, and that's less things for me to manage ultimately.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Yeah,
you are breaking up, sir. You're a little choppy chop. I'm surprised.
Computational power. Oh yeah, and I'm losing.
Oh, maybe.
Why am I losing? network's connected. Oh.
I'm really surprised that we
there's
both
clearly something
remained
going-
connected during that 10-hour live stream. That was something special.
Yeah, that was surprising. There was absolutely no issue whatsoever, which was shockingly good. But yeah, I'm now showing only an 8 out of 10 on my connection, which is a bit. I wonder whether it was I'm showing this. I just don't like it. Yeah, see, I've removed that and I've gone straight back to 5 bars. That might be a coincidence, but yeah, I think I need to use my beefier machine to make this work properly, or just have less background. Well, I could just have a second.
I bought a new
just to run
machine.
the background stuff.
If there's been no issues tonight, I bought a second machine right before I went to HFES because I was like, I'm not chancing this, and I brought both of them. And I used the second. I used the machine that I typically use every week as a how do I put it? As a monitor for the guest.
Yeah.
So whoever was on, I had it right in front of them. They could see the chat. And towards the end of the day, I flipped it around so that way everyone could see it.
Yes, which was quite cool. It was that whole room cam, which I think for next year, I think I've got to work out a way of being able to get out there. And do it wherever
you need to be over here next year.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun.
Without spoiling too many of the private conversations I have, it's bigger and better. That's the sort of motto for next year: bigger, better. Yeah.
And yes, I think, and I think because there might be while I remember, just in case I don't make tomorrow, there is another conference that happened on Monday that unfortunately I couldn't get to, but it was a Human Factors in Medical conference. But the guy who organized it is quite happy to do a chat with me again after about what it did, and I'm going to reach out to some of the people and get them. So we'll do what we did last time around CHF or EHF. I can do some stuff and then also throw the raw your way, and we can put it out through this as well. There's some bonus.
Bonus.
Yes.
Give me a musical genre that juxtaposes weird.
Oh, I guess you've got haunted, creepy stuff. What is that? That's.
Yeah, it's like any song would actually go well with this headline that I got here.
Okay.
All right, hang on. You know what? Here, we're just gonna go for it. Ready? Here we go. This is the headline. Let me get it ready here. So I'm just gonna play the music and then I'll read the headline. A Massachusetts woman who released a swarm of bees on sheriff's deputies as they tried to serve as an eviction notice is facing multiple assault and battery charges, authorities said.
Only in America.
All right. Well, that sure was fun. We're a couple minutes early, but I think we've deserved it after that episode.
We naturally.
Yes. What's that?
We pulled out all the stops and made it happen. Actually, just looking at headlines, Basecamp is decamping from the cloud, which is interesting. They're basically saying that renting computers is mostly a bad deal for US companies.
You want to read it to some cheerful music?
I can just send. All
right.
If I just do that. And there you go.
Okay. All right. Let me. Oh, you want me to read it?
That's not.
Yeah. Do you want to read it?
You can.
Okay. Here, I will. I will read it. All right. Here we go. Basecamp decamps from the cloud. Renting computers is mostly a bad deal. I don't know. I just picked the first thing. I do have one more, and then I think we'll wrap up here. And this one is near and dear to my heart. We'll just play this one here. California baker creates life-size Han Solo out of bread. I went for something 80s.
Awesome. Good shout. Like that.
All right. Well, hey, that's going to be it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in to us and our antics in the pre and post show and the regular show that we somehow managed to pull off today. Really appreciate all of you stopping by and leaving us comments in the chat. If you're watching later, listening later, thank you so much for being a patron and or supporter and or live viewer or viewer later. I don't know, whatever. Whoever you are, thank you. If you made it this far, that means you really enjoy the show. So thank you. And we will be back next week to talk about an interesting topic and hopefully have a third with us next week. So
That'll be fun.
that will be fun. That will be a threesome, as the children are saying, I think. I don't know.
The children are definitely not. Yeah, that's probably a good place.
What is it? The younger generations are saying threesomes are in or something. I don't know. Way off the rails.
Leaving now.
At
Bye.
minute 200. All right. Bye. It ain't no lie.
Human Factors Cast brings you the best in human factors news, interviews, conference coverage, and overall fun conversations into each and every episode we produce. But we can't do it without you. The Human Factors Cast Network is 100% listener supported. All the funds that go into running the show come from our listeners. Our patrons are our priority, and we want to ensure we're giving back to you for supporting us. Pledges start at just $1 per month and include rewards like access to our weekly Q&As with the hosts, personalized professional reviews, and Human Factors Minute, a Patreon-only weekly podcast where the hosts break down unique, obscure, and interesting human factors topics in just 1 minute. Patreon rewards are always evolving, so stop by patreon.com/humanfactorscast to see what support level may be right for you. Thank you, and remember,